Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou? Topo Chico.
Um divisor de águas, com gás, com álcool e aroma natural de fruta.
Que delícia. Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira. Por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa?
Olá, olá, olá. Muito bom dia. Bom dia, Brasil. Boa tarde, Europa. Temos convidados aqui internacionais. É um prazer enorme. Me chamo Claudio Rocha Miranda. Sou fundador do Brasil Music Conference, que desde 2009 vem aqui se prestar ao serviço do desenvolvimento econômico, cultural, da sustentabilidade do setor da música, do entretenimento e tocando naturalmente em cadeias aí da economia criativa. A gente está há 11 anos ininterruptamente realizando congressos ao redor do Brasil, visitando aí as principais capitais, entendendo e absorvendo, inspirando e conectando todo esse setor. No início de 2020, a gente foi ferozmente afetado por essa pandemia que ainda resiste. Muito seriamente, o setor da música e do entretenimento sofreram grandes perdas e precisaram, de fato, se reinventar e olhar a visão aí por outras lentes, novas lentes foram implantadas as nossas visões para a gente conseguir entender quais eram e se haviam, e de fato há oportunidades e novos caminhos em função disso tudo que aconteceu. Acho que está aí uma beleza do ser humano, está aí uma beleza de uma natureza, praticamente, da cultura, de quem trabalha com música, de se reinventar, de se redescobrir. Acho que isso se torna cada vez mais uma constante. Então, a gente começou a plataforma ON, convidando aí uma série de personalidades e entidades, empresas, artistas para trilhar esse novo caminho. E, finalmente, a gente propõe agora uma semana de encerramento, uma semana conclusiva, a nossa Power Week, onde a gente consolida, faz um wrap-up, um envelopamento. A ideia é a gente trazer aqui, nesses 16 painéis que virão, alguns dos insights positivos, uma visão de luz do que a gente tem de transformação, de oportunidade, ver o copo meio cheio, né? Porque o copo meio vazio, a gente conhece, é inexorável o estrago das vidas que levaram, dos traumas que a gente ainda vai ter em função disso que está acontecendo, da devastação de certas áreas econômicas, mas eu tenho certeza da resiliência e de que a gente vai superar isso. Conto mais a respeito da ideia do programa aí ao longo do dia. Sem mais delongas, please, let's jump in our international guests, Mr. Dave Clarke. Flávio pode botar todo mundo. Super Gary Smith and Guy Gerber. Hey guys,
Hey,
on behalf of BRMC team, we are very, very, very honored to have you here. You three here, two world-class DJs and producers, one of the best-known artists in the dance field, with a strong relation also with Brazil and our culture, a lot of stories, and we would like to know more. Quick introduction, Mr. Dave Clarke, nothing less than the Baron of the Techno, was born and raised in Brighton Beach, the epic Fatboy Slim. Guess everybody should tell about this event because it's something very strong in the development of this culture, mainly for me. I saw that beach here. I live in Rio de Janeiro. It's a beach place. His debut release dates 1990. So I can say in 2020 you are in your 40th year career. Is that right, Dave? Yes?
No, I think you've added another 10 years on there. I don't know. I heard inflation. I heard inflation is a little bit bad in Brazil, but no, it's 30 years. 1990, 2000, 2010, 2020. So there's 30 years.
Oh, for 30 years, of course. Yeah.
So
this is what about 2020 is, you're saying.
But the funny thing is that
it's.
So the funny thing is, like 30 years ago, almost to the day, was my first outside the UK gig, and it was here in Amsterdam. And that was, he's gone. That was 30 years ago. I'll just continue talking for the next 20 minutes. Guy's gone.
Guy's gone.
Gary. I don't know what happened. Guy's back.
No, I wanted to open the air condition.
Oh, how lovely to have to need to have air conditioning, Guy.
Yes, I know, but I actually don't know where it is. And it's starting the temperature starting to go up, but I will find it in a little bit. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm staying at a friend's place. Right now? What?
What is the temperature right now?
I don't know, but it's getting hot. I'm staying at a friend's place in Sao Paulo. I have to do some things over here, so I'm using one of his rooms, and it's like the temperature. No, it's hot in Brazil. It's getting hot. It's like now it's hot.
It's nice, right?
Same here in Amsterdam.
Probably like around the 30 degrees.
Yeah, exactly. I think the same here in Amsterdam is like crazy hot right now. Yeah.
Sorry, something went wrong in my internet. I have
to tell Dave that I was listening to rock music. I was more like a rock guy, and I think he played in Tel Aviv in Allenby 58. I don't know if you remember this.
I remember it very well.
Mind blowing for me, and it was like one of my first introduction to seeing the arty part of like electronic music. Because before I would just maybe go to parties, and it was an absolute one of the best moments in my life for listening to music. Maybe I didn't have the best time because I was very young, and I don't know, I didn't have like so many friends in the club, but musically it was mind blowing. So I have to tell you, thank you for that.
L'chaim. No, I was in Tel Aviv last time I played, and I was actually sitting outside a cafe very near to what was left of Allenby 58. It was quite sad. But Allenby 58 was a very special thing. In fact, the guy that brought me over there was called Ronnie. I don't know if you remember Ronnie First. But
I know Ronnie. Ronnie, by the way, what a character.
What a character. Is like Ronnie. So Ronnie was near Yonge Street in Toronto eventually, but he was the guy that brought me out to Tel Aviv. And Allenby 58, I mean, what a legendary club. It was amazing. And then we did after parties afterwards. I'll be playing like Chicago IHR records and stuff. But I come from a rock and roll background as well. So, I think you have to come from a rock and roll background to sort of have that edge, I think.
I think back then, the reason I changed from rock is because the electronic music was just much more rocking, more rebellious than rock and roll. I mean, after that, it was just after Nirvana and after this thing. This was like already like because of the peak, and rock was not so rocking. And then Daft Punk and techno was rocking. But I have a funny story about Ronnie, totally not connected, that I stayed in his house once, and it was like my first tour outside of Israel, maybe one of the second. And I stayed in his house, and back then I was not so organized. I didn't have. You don't hear me anymore?
No, Claudio just froze for a second.
Okay. So I didn't have a credit card. I wasn't like, I was just like starting. I wasn't so organized. And he left me. He went to work, and I stayed in his place without any food. And I was like starving. And I think he told me, I don't remember what it is, but don't touch anything. Like, don't touch anything, basically. Don't touch anything. And I was starving. I went to his fridge. I was like, there's nothing. Literally, he left me there. And I took a burger or something, and I tried to cook it. And I almost burned the kitchen. And when he came back home, the house was with loads of smoke. And he literally was my agent. He almost strangled me. That was a great, was a pretty intense moment. But anyway, it But like we survived that moment. Just like that's my memory from him.
But while Claudio's back, let's have a question from Claudio before he goes again.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed your first introduction. Don't know if Gary asked it. From where are you talking?
We don't need to do anything. These two could talk for hours anyway. We just sit there and laugh with them.
But that's the spirit. Actually, it's the last week of the year. It's a farewell. It's a tough
What year are you living? It's the 14th of December. We've got 2 more weeks. We've got 2 more weeks and 3 days.
See how maths is good in my life. 30 years from 1990 to 2020, and we have but it's the next year. The next week is Christmas, so it's the last week. Okay, two more. But actually, how was this year for you three? Because actually, it's another thing to say that Gary's here, yes, as our international curator and moderator, but all of our four, it's kind of speakers as well. Today, this is the mood to put out the thoughts and see what come out from this. But what are you doing with this extra time? How was 2020? How do you face it? Starting alphabetical order by you, Dave.
2020, the year that keeps on giving. I think we just had John Bon Jovi cover the Pogues Christmas song, so it just keeps getting better. The year 2020. Actually, to be fair, I know it probably goes against the grain, but I have really, really enjoyed 2020. Obviously, there's been worry. I don't think anyone's gone through the year without worry. But for me, I learned a lot about not traveling, and I needed it. I really fucking needed it. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but hey, fuck it. But I really, really needed it, because it was like I spoke to some really wonderful old lady artists here in Amsterdam, and I was saying about a year or two ago, I think I might have a sabbatical and go off and do photography. And they were saying, don't do a sabbatical. It'll be like sand going through your hands. You won't be able to grab anything afterwards. As an artist, it's your duty to keep working, which is true. But having a sabbatical from traveling has been possibly the best moment of my life in the last 10 years. I really, really needed it. The first few months were unseasonably warm, really wonderful. I was getting free vitamin D on my terrace, and I just didn't do anything for like 3 months except just recuperate and reinvigorate. And then I started doing some music. I started being in the studio, really enjoying it. I did a classical project, which Gary knows all about, which is for Le Grand Échiquier in Paris. And that's for like 2 or 3 million people on television. That was interesting. And yeah, a bit of photography still. Unfortunately, my operandus modi for photography fell through because I was taking pictures of artists. But I've really, really enjoyed this year, which is just as well, because I think next year is going to be the same. And I think it's going to be at least 6 to 9 months before anything of any consequence might happen. I'm not even sure if it will, but might happen. But I really enjoyed it. Guy, what about you?
Well, so for me, yes, I'll be honest. First, I embrace it. It was like the same as you. I was like, not just not traveling. I think like some time off from, being an artist, a DJ, in a way. It's like you force, also with social media, you're kind of like forced to constantly, provide something, either for the public to stay current, to be cool, to show something. And it was just like, not traveling. Well, for maybe 20 years also I've been traveling, and it was nice to just like to grow roots, but also not to be forced to, I could just like be a normal person. That's it, without any attention, and also learning to live without the attention, which is also, I was embracing it. You don't have to post so much. You don't have to, if I make music, I don't have to I was just enjoying making music. But I have to admit that I did have up and downs, not because of like the missing the shows. Most likely it's just because it's like very, I embraced the normal life, but at one point it just felt very, very normal. And it was like, I do admit that was sometimes I was like, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm not ready for such normal life. Because I was definitely always like, so it was like, I would say most of the time, really, really loving it. Sometimes having some down moments. I guess like most everybody also had like a little bit of like some, when you just like don't know, the uncertainty sometimes was bothering me. But I have to say that was the most important thing, that I had to also learn to try to find some other sources of income, you know, in some way.
And what about this masterclass that Freddie in our audience is saying?
What?
Someone in our audience, Freddie, is saying we are waiting for your masterclass. It's coming, something like this.
Yes. No. And I would say I didn't be like something to become, but just to have a little bit of like other income, just a little bit, was like mentally relieving, because obviously I'm only 100% in the music in the music industry, and I think also as being an artist, there's something stressful about it. You know, people call you, you have to go there to the show, you have to take this show, you know, you have to provide, you have to go to work, and all of a sudden, you know what, maybe there's like some other ways. You know, I think I gave a lot to the world by going to almost every corner in the world, especially you, probably even more than me. And just to be a little bit more, I don't know, there's also other ways. So, you know, so in a way, music can, you know, when we all started, music was a hobby for us, was hobby. And then I loved music. Music was my best friend. And I guess also through the years. But when it becomes a business also, sometimes there's like a lot of elements that not so musical, but you have to go in the world because it's also a business. So I'll be happy if, like, let's say music will come back. Of course, I'm going to be working and everything, but come closer to a hobby, kind of like, let's say, my heart and soul.
Unless business techno people backstage telling you with their hand on their heart that they were the one that invented wearing black clothes 10 years ago, that would be good too.
What again? Sorry, I didn't get it.
I said, unless business techno people backstage claiming that they were the ones that invented wearing black clothing 10 years ago. And you know, once I landed, I think it was in Miami some while ago, and this guy honestly told me with his hand on his heart, and this I don't miss, right? With his hand on his heart, he was going, "Whoa, welcome to Miami. This is the place where people invented wearing sunglasses at night." And I was like, "Oh, fuck me, really?"
Yeah,
and I don't miss that.
But you know what? I swear, I have to be very, very honest. You know, you are also even before me, but today, most of the crowd, I have also a lot of respect to them and a lot of love, but a lot of the people that comes to the parties today don't know the foundations of this music. Yeah. And foundation of this music, it's like, let's say it was also a social revolution. There's also like some art in it. Let's say the fact that it was like with the machines, or also like a bit more minimal. There's a lot of context to everything that you play. There's a context, and more of the people today, the context is not important. It's just like either they like it or not. Yes, exactly. And I have to say, you know, that I'm a little bit. Sometimes I'm like, I have like a year of like going to places, people jumping on you, you know, I'm like, you know, before I play, I'm stressed, you know, I'm not like so confident of what's going to happen. I need like my moments of like 1 second to figure out what's going to happen. And then people jump on you and this guys tell you this I did not miss. And it was a year, woof, just honestly, also the stress level was like at zero. It's wow.
Don't you find it really relaxing now that when you go outside, I mean, obviously some other things are going on in people's lives, but when you go outside, you're not that, oh, it's a DJ, you're actually unemployed, really. And everyone treats you as a normal person now, as opposed to maybe I can get a guest list or something. It's really lovely.
Do you both find better?
It's a much better.
Find some new hobbies.
What?
Do you develop any new hobbies?
My hobby, I have a hobby that is like a bit intense. I became a little bit addicted to the stock market, like a lot of people, but it's like it's a hobby / I'm a little bit addicted. But yes, I don't know. It's like it's hobbies. I guess like I don't know, cooking. I didn't have like so many. I'm a football fan. That's my real hobby. Like soccer fan, not football. I'm a 100% soccer fan, and I'm like, I get to see. I used to travel always, and now I see all the games, and it's actually, in a way, there's no crowd. Because there's no crowd, I'm a Liverpool fan, but even though, because there's no crowd, the advantage. Now I'm a Liverpool fan, so like 30 years or now, but so I have like 30 very bad years. So I'm
Liverpool beat Flamengo in the World Cup final. Liverpool beat Flamengo.
So we've got a bit of a lag here, but Guy, there's fans in Britain are very weird about fans of football clubs who don't live in Britain. They call them plastics.
You know what? When I was a kid, I don't know, Kenny Dalglish and Ian Rush. I started to like football. I used to play actually soccer for Israel national team when I was 18. I was in Maccabi Tel Aviv, so I was obsessed with soccer when I was like in my young days. My first like introduction to soccer was just Liverpool, So that was like my team, even on Maccabi, and I liked them for 30 years. But what I'm trying to say that now, because there's no crowd, the advantage of the big teams on the players that also can sustain pressure is like gone. So the games, the small teams, now the games are actually much more. Every small team can beat the big ones easily because they don't have like the massive support. So I don't know.
I know what you're saying. You don't have the crowd pressure anymore, right? Because it's
crowd pressure.
But this is a really funny story, okay? Because I used to live in Barcelona. And at the time, I actually quite liked football. I have since then kind of gone off it. But I went to the Now Camp a few times. And we were sat there. And one time, we were kind of really quite close to the pitch in the kind of the first set of bleachers, And I was really excited because you could actually hear the players hitting each other and stuff like that when they were tackling. And I was thinking, I was sat there, and everybody around me was very quiet, okay? And obviously, this is an enormous stadium, 120,000 people, something like that. But I kept hearing this incredible singing, and I was like, where is that coming from? And like scoping around, like trying to identify which section of the pitch was singing. None of them. It was all recorded and played through speakers.
No way.
Yeah, man, way.
In Israel, there was like a big disaster at the beginning. It was like, honestly, who did this? Like, basically, they put, when they also do like the booing, when something like gets injured, they do the booing. And there was in some games, they just put recorded of like curses, like what the fans will curse, but like a really intense song. Let's say somebody like fired the coach, but like in really bad words, and it's on television. But it's not even like people singing; it's a recording. Some idiot put it. He got fired, but it was like unbelievable. Like the words that it was intense. But it's like I enjoy. Now I watch all the games. I don't miss any game. I watch. This is great.
So I grew up in Brighton, and obviously we had Seagulls. And I think up until about 1981, it was actually really, really interesting watching the Seagulls play on television because it was our hometown, and they almost won the FA Cup, and then after that it went to shit, and therefore that's my reason for not liking football. However, when I moved to the Netherlands, the Dutch national team were doing really, really well, and I was like really proud, and I actually got caught up in the whole thing, and that was really wonderful. And I went to a few football matches, and I have to say that I went to the Netherlands versus Sweden. And a bit like IKEA, there were flat packs and they would easily fall apart. And we watched them, and it was a really nice family atmosphere. And then I went to watch Ajax versus Feyenoord, and then the atmosphere was all gone. It's full of male testosterone, not placed in the right areas, everyone being aggressive. And I thought, I'm done with this. It's really
that's the equivalent of Real Madrid versus Barcelona. It's like it's a war. It's not a game of football. It's a cultural.
Yeah. But but unfortunately, not that I know so much, but unfortunately, the tickets are so expensive. So it's like it's a war, but the fans, it's not like so many hooligans. I think Ajax versus Feyenoord, it's like actual, like there's wars. They do meeting in the street next to the stadium with knives and everything. It's pretty intense. But it's like, yes, it's not. Some of them are not just like even like looking at the game, right? With it's like they're just like fighting with each other. But yeah.
Claudio, I have a question for you. What does Topo Chico taste like?
Yeah, Topo Chico is a gas beverage, free flavors.
Sponsor.
Very good. It's like it's not like a beer. It's the same alcohol teor. And very great. It's our lovely sponsor.
Yeah, we love them. Thank you, Topo Chico.
Yeah, thank you, Topo Chico. Gary,
this message has been brought to you by Topo Chico.
Yeah.
maybe drink one so we can see how it is.
Very visibly.
Topo Chico for all your beverage needs.
Yeah. Exactly. Actually, it's very good for a pre-party or a chill out. Actually, this is something that they've said. So I didn't get a chill out party at this moment, but I will.
Topo Chico for all your various party needs.
Great. Gary, do you like to make the next one, please?
About 2020. Weird, very, very strange. Because actually, honestly, I was kind of at a point in my career where I was a little bit bored because I was traveling a lot, which is fine, or at least you think it's fine until like Guy and Dave, until it's ops. And then you suddenly think, I hate airports. I mean, I already knew that, but it's like, I'm so happy I don't have to go and sit in airports anymore. I have actually done a bit of traveling this year, 3 times, and every time by train all the way from I live in Marseille, so from Marseille to Sheffield, which is kind of close to where my mum lives, on the Eurostar for the very first time, which was completely thrilling. Being in a train underwater is quite surreal. You don't actually see fish swimming alongside the train or anything, but it's quite a buzz. I'm kind of with Dave. I mean, quite a lot of positives in terms of lifestyle. I do worry about the live industry because the thing is, it's like we all 3 of us have had a kind of a descent, but it's been gentle, and at the bottom there's like a cushion, okay, which is none of us is starving, none of us is totally devoid of income. But if I've been running a venue, or if I was like a rigger or a sound guy for venues, from one day to the next, that whole income just disappeared. And I do worry about the long-term implications of that, purely from the point of view that the lucky ones will get their jobs back eventually, but what are they doing in the meantime? A lot of them will retrain and go into other careers, so there will be a skill drain, I fear. The good people will, I mean, if you're a really hot sound engineer, then you can transfer that skill to studios or whatever, so the good ones will be drawn away into other sectors. So, I'm very mixed feelings. Personally, I have quite enjoyed this year because I've rediscovered the lazy person in me. I've been, I started out with like, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that. I haven't done any of them. I've just sat around, chilled out.
I heard that you're a good friend of Gary, and that he is one of the greatest dancers I ever seen in the dance floor.
Yeah, but we don't talk about that because it's like Fight Club. You can't talk about Gary dancing. It's really, you just have to see it to believe it. And there's no words that will ever facilitate a true description of Gary's incredible dancing techniques. It's amazing. And that's as far as I feel comfortable going because, there's also people possibly under the age of 21 watching this, and we don't want to upset them. But I have to say that, Gary is correct. There will be a sea change. It's inevitable. I've already seen some personnel being very, very brave on Facebook and facing it head on and doing other jobs from delivery driving to working in other completely unrelated industries. And some people picking up where they'd already semi-trained and taken it further forward. So it's inevitable there's going to be change. And of course, this next coming year, they were saying about festivals coming online. And now they're saying, well, the insurance is going to be very difficult for you. and without the insurance, it's not going to happen. So I honestly don't think that in any of the sort of civilized countries of the European bloc, I think Guy's checking out Stock Ticker right now. I think any of the people that are in the civilized European bloc, I don't think they're going to be allowed to do any festivals at all next year, or maybe in July, August. I just cannot see it as a possibility in the same way. I think maybe 2022 things will get back to normal in the ability of people being able to go to events in a normal queue without social distancing, in an event without social distancing. I think maybe mid-2022, that's when that will happen. But what the industry will be like by the time that will happen is a very, very deep question indeed, because, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things that have already changed, things that we all took for granted, which is like, we would see all our fans in different countries. They would just travel. They would just go on a what's that dodgy airline called EasyJet? They'll be on EasyJet or Ryanair. There are other airlines available if you want to try them, but they'll be on these airplanes traveling for 20 or 30 euros to see you, as if that's normal behavior. And that isn't really normal. It's wonderful, don't get me wrong. I mean, like, seeing people travel the world to see you, having faith that you're going to play a different set in different places, is really a privilege. But it's not a way to conduct the world, is it, really? It's not like we're traveling to the next town. We're going on an aeroplane, and an aeroplane is not a cool thing to do. So things will change anyway. What's going to happen is there's going to be, I think, a significantly reduced amount of capacity within the airline industry. I think that's inevitable, because I think state subsidies will eventually dry up, and there'll be it'll just be the way, the law of the land. Like, some airlines will just go bust, and that's just the way it is. I think hotels will also have an issue. I think the fact that Airbnb has just floated for 10 billion shows where the hospitality industry is moving further towards, which is decentralization. And I think Airbnb is going to be an indicative point where people will still travel, but I think it's going to be more expensive. They banned Airbnb within the center of Amsterdam. Obviously, this is before Corona, because it was just destroying the whole vibe of Amsterdam, as many other cities. But things will change.
I think in Berlin as well, because they're having so many. Yeah. Because the thing is, your typical Airbnb person is not a responsible neighbor. They'll have a party till 5 a.m. If they annoy the other people around them, they don't give a shit.
In general, most of the time it's also terrible. It's like, let's say 80% of the time it's a disappointment when people go to Airbnb. It's rarely that you're going to the apartment and you're like, oh wow, this is like, usually it's like always a disappointment. But I personally think that obviously everything is stopped right now, but people are just dying to party. They're dying.
They'll do it for cheaper. They would do it for, like, as I was talking with Joachim on Speedy J the other day, they will just do it. They will go into like a forest. They'll have a sound system with a fog machine, and they'll just do it for cheaper. They don't want to spend 150 euros on a ticket and get a free pizza. You know, they don't want to do that anymore. They will just be able to party in their own way. And I think for the beauty and the magnificence of the music itself, that's a good thing, because the scene itself has become exceptionally commercial. I mean, if you look at, say, Tomorrowland and you look at Awakenings, I think that the actual the lineups they have are 80% similar now. There isn't not that much of a difference between anything anymore.
I agree. And I also think this was like a moment also for, like, let's say, the smaller DJ to shine, because people still been playing around. Local DJs got to play, got more attention, and that was actually cool. You know, it was also, in a way, you know, it's also good for, like, a lot of people to stop, work on the music, work on their sets, find new things. But I do believe, I just, like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, that people, I just feel it. Also during hard times, actually during recessions, actually entertainment business usually thrive, because people, when they have some money to spend, they want to have fun, and they don't actually save so much. And I could see, you know, people are also not so reasonable. And I feel when things are going to come back, they're going to be an explosion. Of course, promoters are going to start to tell, hey, you know, I don't want to pay so much because of this, and this, and that. I feel, and they will, but I do think that by the way, what you're saying right now, that like about people going to this, it's what they do right now. People definitely party right now in like off location in the park and things like that. But I feel, I agree with Gary that a lot of people with skill will go away. Also because it's like a lot of people, this business is a hard business. You know, it's like, let's say I was like, as I said, like a lot of anxiety, a lot of pressure, a lot of like no real normal life. And I mean, for me, I wish myself that, let's say, when everything goes back, even if everything goes back, I wish I would play 50% of the time of what I was playing before. That's what I wish to myself. I wish I would.
Most DJs feel like that, but the scene won't come back to that point anyway. So you'll take as much as you can because there won't be that much left for the first year or two. But I think a lot of DJs are saying like, you know what? But these are DJs that have been on the scene for quite some time. And the whole thing about social media has kept the pressure on that you need to be out there all the time. And obviously, if you don't care so much about social media, then it's not such a big thing. But I think you're right. But here's an interesting thing. I mean, a lot of people that say in Belgium, and I think maybe even in the Netherlands, that were working behind the scenes, the ones that were making all of us look like a star, the ones that were providing us with incredible sound, incredible visuals, incredible lights, really good technicalities, right? A lot of these people now have gone to work at the docks, I think in Rotterdam and Antwerp. And what I've heard is that a lot of these people are also saying, you know what, I'm actually getting more money. I am actually getting better working hours. I'm actually being represented by a union and I can actually see my family. So why would I go back and be shouted at by a horrible promoter and be paid less? And that's what I've been hearing a lot from a lot of people that have been doing those kind of jobs.
Guys, I completely agree. This is a huge dilemma, of course, and the socials just increase this situation, this feeling of anxiety, as Guy said. Let me jump in a issue. Actually, with this extra time, I guess everybody in a single moment have thought about your relationship with time. So the myths of age and career. I will not get in ranking polemics, but we just saw a 53 years old DJ becoming the #1 in DJ Mag. Let's say in a very young, fun-based industry. So what are your take on this relation between age and career?
I think you also have to add in gender.
Also have to?
Add in gender.
Gender.
Male, female.
Yeah.
Or male or female or binary, non-binary.
Yeah, I think you have to add that in because there's disparity on the social media playing field, for example. Whereas obviously, if you're female, you have an advantage on the social media playing field than what you would as a male. But it's very, very destructive, I think, also for a lot of other women coming through following those patterns. So there's a whole lot of things to take into account. I mean, I don't know many people that take the DJ Mag thing seriously at all. So I'm not even going to go with the DJ poll. I think I've been in the DJ Mag poll maybe 4 times in my career, and it's got me 1 gig, and that was in Marrakesh. And a prince asked me to play there because I was whatever I was in the DJ Mag poll. And then I got there and played, and actually after 7 minutes, he came up to me and said, "Can I play softer?" And I was already playing soft as it was. And then he came up to me 5 minutes later asking, "Do I have any prints?" And I went, "No, I don't. I'm sorry. Shall I finish now?" He said, "Yes, I think that's a very, very good idea." That's the only thing that DJ Mag thing has actually ever got me that's tangible that I'm aware of. So the DJ Mag thing is more of a franchise thing to sell other magazines around the world. It's not a serious thing for marketing. And also, it's not like you're a racing driver or even a footballer where you actually have a skill set that can be offset against another skill set and then battle each other in a sporting activity. It's just taste, and that's the way it is. And I think the age thing is an interesting thing because obviously when I started, social media wasn't there. Cameras on phones were not there. GPS was not there. Technology wasn't there, and you would turn up with a set of vinyl, you do your thing, people would mostly choose not to look at you because it wasn't important to the sound that was coming out. And those that did look at you wanted to be DJs and would either dish you like, oh, that was a shit mix, I could do better. And maybe they became a DJ and a good one themselves. Or they would also learn about the music. And then all of a sudden, MySpace came along. MySpace changed things. People were still friendly. And then the phone came along. And then all of a sudden, I have this analogy because I've had a lot of what I call sexism when I'm being DJing, whereas you have a lot of women at the front of stage and they will be doing this to me because I have a face like the back of a bus sometimes when I'm DJing, and they will do this to me all the time, like smile, smile, smile. And I think that's totally sexist. I think, and if I had the time to express them, I said, well, if you went to a Joy Division concert, would you go up to Peter Hook and he's playing bass and said, I think you should smile more? It's just not something I think is totally sexist, but people have lost the plot. It's like, if you look at what happened with Boiler Room, if you look at what happened with video, is all of a sudden it became a spectacle. And the spectacle then demystified a lot of things. And if you look at a lot of DJs now that are apparently playing music, they are dancing for 12 minutes and not actually doing anything except pretending to do something, putting the headphone on, playing with the EQ, but it's the same deck that's playing the same track. So there is a big change that's happened now where, techno now is not a counterculture as a word. It used to be. Now it's just a way of making money for a lot of people. So if you go into this whole DJ Mag poll thing, it doesn't really make any sense. If you go into the age thing, again, it doesn't really make any sense. But if you add it all together and then add in gender and then social media, then everything becomes very convoluted, very difficult to really compete in. And then, it doesn't really make any sense because I do this honestly just for the love of the music. But there's a lot of people that have come through that don't do that. Right, Guy?
I think, no. So what I'm saying, I think I totally agree with you. I see it like that. Like, think before social media, to be cool, so it was like a Ricardo Villalobos show. No one was there. Only like 20 people were there. This is like the most underground. But after social media, popularity was measured by numbers. So basically people wanted to be popular. So as an artist, when you have to be like more whatever, rebellious or tell the truth or make people like ask questions, a lot of artists started to give people what they want because it's been measured by numbers immediately. And it changed the whole perspective. As I said, underground music or electronic music was a social, a social revolution for people. People lost their job. All of a sudden, computers took people's jobs around 88 in Manchester, in England, and people started to take ecstasy. And before people were looking at the rock stars, all of a sudden people were dancing, and you were the rock star with your friends, and that was like part of a social revolution. And now it's just like, it's not like something for me for how much people care about the music. First, they do care, but it's like I don't know. It's just like the dancing. Also, a lot of this dancing are, I'm sorry, they're lame. So it's not like, it's fun if people dance. It's some, Denny Teneglia dance, but it was like kind of like hilarious. It wasn't like, look at me, it was just like doing something. And today, it's like, I'm like, sometimes I have to admit, the same people that like me like some things that I personally don't like. And it makes me think, so somebody comes to me, hey man, I love this, and then it's like, here's a photo of me and it's a bit of a shame because it's like the music is definitely not it used to be, even in Ibiza, there used to be the track of the summer. The track of the summer could change your career. Wow, you put this song, everybody plays this song, okay, your life changes. And now it's like nobody cares about what is that. It's like who had more tables, who went to the after party, who had more girls. It's a lot of things. Who is the best friend of the promoter? There's so many. It's not about, some of your songs, I remember in the beginning, it's like, there was like something music never been heard before. And it was just to do this was like putting you, and look, I'm not as good as DJ as you. You were like also the skill. As a skill, it was like something to watch, like, wow, look what this guy is doing. Skill today is totally not important. Every guy, it's not important. Me, I'm more of like, let's say, I would say producer than a DJ. So I work hard in the studio. Sometimes it's my emotions, it's my soul. I'm putting it. It's just like, I don't know. It's, I guess, especially for us being in this world for so many years, it's I don't see the definitely popularity of our music is going up, but the soul and this is just that I don't see something.
I get the feeling that a lot of the new school of DJs went to the same stage school, where they learned to dance in exactly the same way. They learned to work out where the camera is looking at them. They learned to learn how to pout. They learn to do all of this stuff, which is superfluous to actually the music that they're playing.
Yeah. You can almost see, you can almost see, I swear, which is like, I mean, look, I can see sometimes you can see some, like, let's say, I would not mention names, but like some of my peers, comes a song, I can see that they've been practicing this song in front of the mirror. When I'm like, oh my God, that's like horrible. Literally actually did this. I'm shocked. And I would expect people to see that's lame. No, people are like, they love it. So
you know how much cake can you actually throw at an audience while still mixing? You know what I mean?
But you know what? In a way, what he did, you know, this is horrible. But I would say also something that also bothers me. In the commercial world, in a way, some of the biggest stars actually make their own music. Calvin Harris make his own music. Bob Sinclair actually makes, you know, he works with a producer like this. Actually, in the underground world, the amount of shadow producers, you know, there's so many people. I see this guy remixes this one and they talking on Twitter, hey, great remix. Not, you didn't make the track, and you definitely, the other guy didn't make the remix. It's just like a lot of like, success and popularity is the most important. When I got into this world, when he was talking about I was in rock, I was like, wow, I went to see some shows and I was like, these guys are so much fucking better than me. I have to go home and get better. What is this music? Never heard this music. And today it's not about that. It's just like who is the most popular, and whatever it takes to be popular, they do it. Like a stupid video talking about some being activists, talking about like plastic and things. They don't care about plastic. They care about, look at me. I'm supporting, I don't know, plastic.
Guy, goo are you talking about?
What?
Goo are you talking about?
No. He looks really good for his age. Come on. I mean, he does, you know?
Guys. Sorry to interrupt.
What?
No, sorry to interrupt. We are really running out of time. I would like to actually talk a little bit more about your relationship with Brazil. Dave, you've played in Rock in Rio in 2015. You played in Rio Music Carnival, I guess, in 2012. How is this relationship with Brazil? The best moments, Guy? I will make two questions in one because of the time. And please tell us more your relationship. You're actually living here, or fiancé is living here, something like this. And your Live in Brazil project, the Favela Orchestra. But let's start with Dave and this relationship with our lovely country, Brazil.
I think obviously Brazil was one of those countries you always wanted to visit, because you see Rio and you see Sao Paulo. And I then realized actually I fell in love more with Sao Paulo than I did with Rio, which really surprised me, because obviously Rio is...
The traffic, you're saying.
Well, actually, to be honest, in Sao Paulo...
Rio, but I agree with him. Yeah.
To be honest, the traffic in Sao Paulo has been pretty bad as well. But I fell more in love with Sao Paulo than I did with Rio. I mean, Rio is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The beaches are amazing. But Sao Paulo had more of a soul for me. I can't explain it. And I really, really enjoyed that. I think it's because I was really looked after by people like Eliana. But it was also lovely to see people like Renato Cohen in Brazil. And for me, probably like the greatest success that I ever had in Brazil was playing live, actually, at Skull Beats. And Skull Beats was a very important thing for me. I used to love playing for Skull Beats. It felt such a privilege. I think I played to 20,000 people at Skull Beats playing live. And my equipment only landed, got to the gig like an hour before because of Carne. So it was really stressful, but it was such a privilege. And I always felt very looked after. Like Eliana would always look after me, would always go to really nice restaurants. DJ Cami, Lady Machine, she's from from Brazil as well. She's like a great talent, and she's now living in Berlin. So a lot of good talent was coming from Brazil, which is really appreciative. And I haven't been there for quite some time. But yeah, I mean, the clubs were good, but there were always politics with Brazil, and a lot of those politics came down to American agents, and I only found out about these politics afterwards, so I think that's a real shame. But I always had a really, really good feeling whenever I played there. I never played there enough, actually, but yeah, there you go.
Great. Guy,
well, Brazil is like, I was single for 10 years, not because I chose it. I was looking for love for 10 years until I found my girlfriend here after like almost like 10 years. But before her, I fell in love with Brazil. I fell in love with Rio. I prefer Sao Paulo, but I fell in love with Rio. And I don't know, here I've been to the carnival, and I could see each parade is like for 70 minutes. You see thousands of people inside the samba drum singing with all of their hearts for 70 minutes, like da 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 da, but don't stop. It's like literally 1 hour of like singing. Everybody dances. The people on the bus or on the parade, they're not like look at me. They're like there for the people in the samba drum, and it just like was a burst of happiness that I never encountered anywhere in my life. It's almost like let's say in a football stadium, somebody scores a goal, and there's like a hey like this for 1 hour of people are like that, and I just fell in love with Brazil. I was like this energy. I never encountered something like this. I obviously come here for like 15 years, but until I was in the carnival, the actual thing, I was like I don't know, I fell in love. I like Sir Georgie. I like Brazilian music. I like the love, like let's say when we have like just the mom of my girlfriend comes at home with her friends. It's her birthday. So people, there will be like some song in the radio. Everybody starts to dance. People like this. That doesn't exist elsewhere. And it's also like, I think like, I don't know, it was a humbling experience for me to come here because my life is very simple here. And there's not like, there's no show. I don't know how to explain it, but I just fell in love in Brazil and I became like a carioca almost. That's it.
Great. Gary.
I used to be a drummer, right? That's how I got into the music industry. And the amazing thing in Brazil is that everybody plays really mean percussion. They're all of them. It's just like, what the? How's the whole nation learn to play really? Because some of the stuff, the offbeats they use and stuff like that is really, you need to have a great feel, But you said the E word, energy. This is, for me, Brazil has a very special energy, which is all bound up with music and the culture of the music and stuff like that. And when you're at carnival, it's just like, oh my God, this is just otherworldly.
It becomes best when you find the sunblock, because also
the beat, like the high percussion is like it's like this, but the low frequency is actually like almost offbeat, like boom, 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 boom. And it's all this on top, and people manage to dance this, like thousands of people manage to dance. If you listen, sometimes you listen just to the beat, it's so complicated, but people, they just dance it. And it's like unbelievable understanding of rhythm in this country.
Yeah, totally.
Guys, what final says? I'm sorry, running out of time and starting to thank you for your time, for your sharing here. But what would you say for the young generations that are passionate about dance music and and would like to follow this life, this career after this 2020? What is the bright thing to say for the young generation?
I would say stop sponsoring the corporations and look for the upcoming events that will showcase local talent. Local talent is really important. There was once upon a time, I'd still believe that there were DJs that were specialists and it wasn't so easy to find so much local talent, and that's why a lot of DJs would travel the world. But now I think it's quite possible that it's very easy for local DJs to actually provide great music wherever they are. I think it's less necessary for people to travel the world anymore. So I would say sponsor local events with your patronage. Don't sponsor the bigger events anymore unless they actually move towards this direction of actually supporting local events. Stop taking pictures all the time of everything. It's not necessary. You don't look at it. You don't care. Whoever looks back at their picture, oh, I wonder what I was doing the 6th of March in 2018. Oh, yes. It's not really that interesting. It doesn't matter. Live the moment. Don't spend so much attention looking at the DJ unless you want to learn how to DJ. I wanted to become a DJ because I saw people like Shem streets ahead in Brighton because he was so bloody good. And I thought, I want to be that bloody good. In fact, I want to be better. If you want to be that kind of person that wants to learn how to do it, then do it. But otherwise, just concentrate on being in the moment. I think loads of people have lost how to be in the moment. So learn how to be in the moment, embrace yourself within the music, and embrace the feeling of other people embracing the music, and stop filming, stop taking photos, stop posting on social media, and just be who you are, not who you're pretending to be. Says Uncle Dave. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was going to say thanks, Dad.
Mr. Gerber.
I agree. I think what I would say, so people should, when I got into this, people should listen more to what was happening in the past. Just like, let's say, when I got into this music, I admit, I started to like Daft Punk. Daft Punk was listening to DJ Sneak. From DJ Sneak, I was listening to Chicago House. Then I got introduced to Derek May. But I was like, let's say, learning about this music. Back in the day. Today, like, let's say you put a song and iTunes offer you other songs. But back then, when it culture to consume culture, you would see, I don't know, the Smiths, the singer used to have a shirt of this band. You're like, oh, wow, I'm going to check out this band. So I would say, if I would like to keep the quality of this thing, so people should listen, because house music, it's about the nuances and a little bit about the context. Some tracks use a sample from before. It's all about this. I would be happy if people will listen to the history of this music and not just looking for the new song. It's very important to the foundation of this culture that is disappearing a little bit with the new generation. That's what I think.
Great. Mr. Gary Smith, final say or question?
They've pretty much said it all, really, but I do agree that this obsession with it's like, why is everybody reporting every nuance and aspect of their lives to the rest of the world who does not give a fuck? That's the problem, It's like, just stop posting on social media. Stop taking the photo of your fucking lunch. Just live it, eat it. Don't photograph it.
Great. Guys, thank you so much. It was an honor for us to have you here. Mr. Dave Clarke, Mr. Guy Gerber, Gary, thank you so much. We will follow our program here in our Power Week. And Topo Chico, we'll have one together.
I expect 100 cans to be sent over, okay?
Topo Chico for all your party needs.
Exactly. Thank you, guys. Have a great end of the year. And in 2021, let's do it better. Always.
Yeah, man.
Enjoy. Bye-bye.
Obrigado.
Olá, vamos lá. Finalzinho aqui. Obrigado aí a todos pela audiência. Estamos aqui no primeiro dos 16 programas que a gente programou aí para os próximos 4 dias. Temos 4 slots diários. A gente começa sempre às 11 da manhã com Morning Sessions, de 11 ao meio-dia, depois a gente almoça. 4 da tarde a gente tem o Opening Slot, às 5h30 o Sunset Hour e às 19 horas o Chill Out. Hoje, às 16 horas, eu recebo aqui a Roberta Coelho, que é CEO do Game XP, o festival de games e música e artes e uma série de atividades do Rock in Rio, da Rock World, e a Juliana Constantini, do Multishow e Canal Bis. Mais à frente, o Felipe Marreco, da Escola Criativa B-Hub, e o B-UF, nossos hosts aqui do BRMC, recebem Ilusionais, Curol e Almanac, um super papo. E, encerrando o primeiro dia de hoje, Léo Janeiro, Ana Cavalcante, da DJ Mag, recebem Carola, Nepal e Alexis, BCX. Galera, a provocação aqui é extrair o melhor desse ano de 2020. A gente está aqui fazendo um filtro, uma curadoria aí das ideias mais fantásticas para a gente distribuir como presente final de ano, como presente de Natal, no nosso report. Corre lá no nosso website e faz o teu cadastro, porque só vai receber quem fizer esse cadastro por lá. Muito obrigado. Até daqui a pouco. Um grande abraço. Valeu!
Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou? Topo Chico, um divisor de águas, com gás, com álcool e aroma natural de fruta. Credo, que delícia! Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira, por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa? Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou? Topo Chico,
um divisor de águas, com gás, com álcool e aroma natural de fruta.
Credo, que delícia! Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira, por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa? Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou? Topo Chico,
um divisor de águas, com gás, com álcool e aroma natural de fruta.
Credo, que delícia! Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira, por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa? Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou?
Topo Chico, um divisor de águas, com gás, com álcool e aroma natural de fruta.
Credo, que delícia! Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira, por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa? Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou?
Topo Chico, um divisor de águas, com gás, como álcool e aroma natural de fruta.
Credo, que delícia. Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira, Por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa?
Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou? Topo Chico, um divisor de águas, com gás, como álcool e aroma natural de fruta.
Credo, que delícia. Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira, Por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa?
Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou? Topo Chico, um divisor de águas, com gás, como álcool e aroma natural de fruta.
Credo, que delícia. Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira, Por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa?
Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou? Topo Chico, um divisor de águas, com gás, como álcool e aroma natural de fruta.
Credo, que delícia. Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira, Por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa?
Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou? Topo Chico, um divisor de águas, com gás, como álcool e aroma natural de fruta.
Credo, que delícia. Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira, Por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa?
Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou? Topo Chico, um divisor de águas, com gás, como álcool e aroma natural de fruta.
Credo, que delícia. Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira, Por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa?
Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou? Topo Chico, um divisor de águas, com gás, com álcool e aroma natural de fruta.
Credo, que delícia. Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira, Por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa?
Chegou a novidade pro rolê. E aí, você já provou? Topo Chico, um divisor de águas, com gás, com álcool e aroma natural de fruta.
Credo, que delícia. Pra você beber geladinho na beira da praia, da piscina, da banheira, Por que não? Difícil encontrar um rolê que não combine.
Topo Chico, leve e refrescante em 90 calorias.
E aí, topa?